When you talk about the San Diego Padres, you're talking about patience, about a franchise born far from the spotlight, built in a city that waited decades for national respect. The Padres never had the advantages of baseball's biggest markets, but they had something just as powerful: loyalty. Fans who stayed through losing seasons, near misses, and heartbreak, believing that one day, San Diego baseball would matter on the game's biggest stage. From the early days at San Diego Stadium to the roar of Petco Park, certain players carried that belief on their backs. They didn't just play baseball, they gave the Padres an identity. These are the 20 greatest San Diego Padres players of all time. Number 20, Ed Whitson. Ed Whitson was part of the Padres' earliest identity, the kind of pitcher a young franchise leans on simply to survive. In the late 1970s, when San Diego was still trying to figure out who it was and how to compete, Whitson brought something invaluable: stability. A durable right-hander with a strong arm and a fearless approach, he took the ball every fifth day and gave the Padres a chance, even when wins were hard to come by. Whitson wasn't a headline maker. He didn't overpower hitters with flashy stuff or chase individual accolades. What he offered instead was reliability, innings eaten, pressure absorbed, and a rotation anchored by someone who wouldn't flinch. For an expansion-era team still building credibility that mattered enormously, every franchise has stars, but every franchise is built on players like Ed Whitson, the ones who hold the line while everything else is still under construction. Number 19, Eric Show. Eric Show was one of the most gifted and complex players the Padres ever produced. A pitcher whose mind was just as sharp as his right arm. A cerebral, thoughtful competitor, Show wasn't overpowering in the traditional sense, but he didn't need to be. He won with precision, command, and intelligence. That approach carried him to 4 All-Star selections and made him the unquestioned ace of the Padres staff throughout the 1980s. His best season came in 1988 when he won 15 games and proved he could carry a rotation night after night. When San Diego needed a stopper, someone to slow a losing streak or protect a thin bullpen, Show was the pitcher they trusted. He pitched with calm under pressure, never rattled, never rushed, and rarely beaten by emotion. But Eric Show's story is also one of tragedy. Off the field, he battled personal demons that eventually cut his life short. His death at just 37 years old robbed the baseball world of a brilliant mind and a pitcher who still had so much to give. Whether as a coach, mentor, or voice in the game. A homegrown star, an intellectual competitor, and a reminder that greatness in baseball isn't always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's thoughtful, and sometimes it burns far too briefly, like Eric Show's legacy in San Diego. Number 18, Terry Kennedy. Terry Kennedy was more than just a catcher for the Padres. He was the calm center of a team finally learning how to win. Arriving in San Diego in 1981, Kennedy immediately became the leader of the pitching staff, a steady presence who knew how to manage games, control the tempo, and protect his pitchers. Offensively, Kennedy delivered when it mattered. He provided power from the catcher position, drove in runs, and came up with timely hits throughout the early 1980s. His best work came in 1984, when he helped guide the Padres through their first-ever pennant run. That 1984 team will always be remembered as a turning point in Padres history, the moment the franchise announced it belonged on the national stage. And Terry Kennedy was right in the middle of it all, calling games, blocking pitches, and leading quietly by example. He didn't just catch the Padres pitchers. He helped catch the Padres' first taste of greatness. Number 17, Nate Colbert. Nate Colbert was the Padres' first true star, the player who gave a brand new franchise its first real identity. In the early 1970s, when San Diego was still finding its footing, Colbert brought thunder to a lineup that desperately needed it. He wasn't a finesse hitter, he was raw power, thick-shouldered, aggressive, and built to punish mistakes. His 1972 season remains legendary: 41 home runs, 128 RBIs, In a 4-home run game against Atlanta, that still stands as one of the greatest individual performances in franchise history. For an expansion team still learning how to win, Colbert became a nightly reason to watch. More than the numbers, he gave San Diego belief. He gave fans a hero before there were playoff races or packed Octobers. For years, his name sat atop the Padres' all-time home run and RBI lists. A reminder that before the stars, before the contenders, there was Nate Colbert. Every franchise has a first pillar. For the Padres, that pillar was Nate Colbert. Number 16, Brian Giles. Brian Giles arrived in San Diego as a proven hitter, but what he became with the Padres was something even greater. A complete elite offensive force who quietly dominated the National League. From the moment he put on a Padres uniform, Giles transformed the lineup. Pitchers couldn't rush him, couldn't fool him, and couldn't afford mistakes. In 2001, he led the entire National League in on-base percentage, a testament to his patience, vision, and baseball intelligence. Giles consistently punished pitchers who challenged him. During an era when San Diego often lacked national spotlight, Giles produced numbers that stood toe-to-toe with the biggest stars in baseball. More than stats, Giles brought professionalism. He showed younger players how to prepare, how to grind through a season, and how to win at the plate even when the team around him struggled. For the Padres of the early 2000s, Brian Giles wasn't just the heart of the lineup. He was its brain, its backbone, and its most dangerous weapon. Number 15, Ken Caminiti. Ken Caminiti played baseball with a fire few could match. Passionate, fearless, and intensely competitive, he wore his heart on his sleeve every time he stepped on the field. In 1996, he turned that intensity into history, winning the National League MVP and delivering one of the finest individual seasons in Padres lore. Caminiti wasn't just a slugger, he was a complete player. At third base, his defense was elite, combining strong hands, quick reactions, and a fearless approach to the hot corner. At the plate, he smashed clutch home runs, drove in runs when it mattered most, and brought a power presence that made opposing pitchers think twice. Beyond the numbers, Caminiti helped redefine what it meant to be a Padres cornerstone. He carried the team's energy, led by example, and showed that San Diego could produce not just great players, but legends. His lead passion left an indelible mark, and his 1996 season still shines as one of the brightest chapters in franchise history. Number 14, Phil Nevin. Phil Nevin brought power, consistency, and a steady presence to the Padres during the late 1990s. Drafted as the number 1 overall pick in 1992, expectations were sky high. And in San Diego, Nevin began to realize his full potential. He wasn't flashy, he didn't chase headlines. Instead, Nevin let his bat do the talking. With the ability to drive in key runs and hit for power in clutch moments, he became a central piece of the lineup. His contributions were vital during the 1998 season, a year when the Padres made a memorable postseason run, capturing national attention and reminding the league that San Diego was capable of competing at the highest level. More than just statistics, Nevin's presence brought stability and leadership to a young team. He was the kind of player who could be counted on to perform day in and day out. A dependable cornerstone in the Padres' late 90s resurgence. Number 13, Chase Headley. Chase Headley was the steady hand guiding the Padres during a transitional era, the bridge between the franchise's rebuilding years and its modern superstar era. A Gold Glove-winning third baseman, Headley combined elite defense with the kind of contact hitting and situational awareness that made him invaluable on both sides of the ball. His 2012 season was nothing short of spectacular. Headley put together a career-defining campaign, leading the National League in RBIs, driving in key runs in clutch situations, and finishing as an MVP finalist. He became the player everyone on the Padres could rely on, the one who led by example with consistent effort and professionalism every day. More than stats, Headley's presence brought credibility and identity to a team in transition. For fans, he was the face of the franchise, the player who made them proud, even before the era of big free agent signings and superstar lineups arrived. Number 12. Fernando Tatís Jr. Fernando Tatís Jr. didn't just arrive in San Diego. He ignited the city. From the moment he stepped onto the field, he brought a combination of explosive power, lightning speed, and jaw-dropping athleticism that made every game a must-watch. Tatis's flair for the dramatic, from leaping catches to towering home runs, gave the Padres a personality and energy they hadn't had in decades. Even in the face of early career injuries, Tatis's influence was undeniable. He became the cornerstone of the modern Padres, the player around whom the franchise could build its identity. Young fans, longtime supporters, and casual observers alike were drawn to his charisma and skill, and suddenly, San Diego was a city alive with belief that its team could compete at the highest level. Beyond the stats and highlights, Tatís represented a new culture, a fearless, unapologetic, electric style of baseball that made the Padres exciting again. He reminded the franchise and the city that the future was theirs to shape, one home run, one stolen base, one highlight reel play at a time. Number 11. Gene Richards. Gene Richards was baseball in motion. Speed wasn't just part of his game, it was the core of it. One of the fastest players in Padres history, he could turn a single into a double into a triple, and put constant pressure on opposing defenses. His legs were a weapon, and he used them to dictate the pace of the game, consistently stealing bases and stretching hits into extra bases. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, Richards set the table for San Diego's offenses, giving power hitters the opportunities to drive in runs and keeping pitchers on edge every time he reached base. He led the league in triples, swiped bags with precision, and played the kind of dynamic, high-energy baseball that electrifies fans and inspires teammates. Richards wasn't just fast. He was smart, instinctive, and relentless. He embodied the kind of leadoff hitter every team dreams of, one who could create runs without ever swinging for the fences. For the Padres, he became a symbol of excitement and athleticism, a player whose impact went far beyond the box score. Number 10. Randy Jones. Randy Jones was the embodiment of pitching mastery in the Padres' early years. Quiet, focused, and incredibly precise, he wasn't the flashiest pitcher, but he was devastatingly effective. In 1976, Jones reached the pinnacle of his career, winning the National League Cy Young Award and becoming the first Padre ever to earn the honor. What made Jones special was his control. He could paint the corners, mix speeds effortlessly, and frustrate hitters into making mistakes. San Diego wasn't yet known as a pitching powerhouse, but Jones proved that elite arms could thrive in the city long before the modern era's pitching stars arrived. His durability was just as impressive as his command. Season after season, he took the ball with confidence, delivering innings and setting a standard for excellence that future Padres pitchers would strive to match. Randy Jones wasn't just a Cy Young winner. He was the foundation of San Diego's pitching legacy and a symbol of what the franchise could achieve. Number 9. Gene Tenace. Gene Tenace wasn't just a player, he was a leader, a steadying force, and a proven winner. A catcher and first baseman with a rare combination of power and patience. Tenace had already built a reputation as a postseason performer long before arriving in San Diego. In 1984, Tenace's experience became invaluable. The Padres were chasing their first National League pennant, and his leadership both on and off the field helped stabilize a young team under pressure. He had a knack for delivering in clutch moments, whether it was driving in runs, handling pitchers, or setting the tone in the clubhouse. Tenace's presence elevated the Padres from contenders to championship challengers. His ability to combine power at the plate with baseball intelligence made him a cornerstone of that pennant-winning squad. When San Diego reached its first World Series that year, it wasn't just talent on the roster that mattered. It was the poise and championship pedigree that Gene Tenace brought every single day. Number 8. Andy Benes. Andy Benes was more than just a pitcher. He was a calming presence, a veteran anchor, and a model of consistency for a Padres team on the rise. By the late 1990s, San Diego had assembled a talented roster, but what they needed was experience and steady leadership on the mound. Beans delivered exactly that. Throughout the 1998 season, he provided quality innings, minimized mistakes, and set an example for younger pitchers in the rotation. His poise in high-pressure situations allowed the Padres to navigate the rigors of a playoff chase with confidence. When San Diego captured the National League pennant, it was easy to highlight the hitters and flashy plays. But the quiet reliability of Beans' arm and his veteran presence were equally critical to the team's success. In a season filled with heroes, Andy Benes was the unsung steady hand, the kind of player every championship-caliber team needs to hold it all together. Number 7. Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian Gonzalez wasn't just a cornerstone at first base. He was the embodiment of professionalism and consistency for the Padres. In an era when Petco Park suppressed offense, Gonzalez still found ways to hit for power, drive in runs, and set the tone in the middle of the lineup. But it wasn't just his bat that made him special. Defensively, he was elite, winning multiple Gold Gloves and providing a reliable presence at first base. He anchored the infield, mentored younger players, and led by example both on and off the field. During the Padres' rebuilding years, when wins were scarce and optimism was limited, Gonzalez's loyalty and work ethic became a beacon for the franchise. Fans respected him, teammates trusted him, and opponents had to account for him in every at-bat. Adrian Gonzalez wasn't flashy. He didn't seek the spotlight. But for San Diego, he was everything a leader, a hitter, and a Hall of Fame-level talent could be: steady, powerful, and unforgettable. Number 6. Manny Machado. Manny Machado didn't just arrive in San Diego. He arrived with a mission. One of baseball's premier third basemen, Machado combined Gold Glove defense, elite hitting, and unmatched athleticism at the hot corner. From the moment he donned the Padres uniform, he became the face of the franchise's modern transformation. More than just stats, Machado brought leadership, professionalism, and a winning mentality to a team long defined by rebuilding. Whether it was launching a clutch home run, making a jaw-dropping defensive play, or mentoring younger players, Machado's influence was felt every inning. As the Padres' highest-profile free agent signing in years, he didn't just add star power, he added legitimacy. For a franchise striving to compete with the best teams in baseball, Manny Machado became the standard-bearer, the cornerstone of a new era, and a reminder that the Padres were no longer satisfied with merely participating. They were here to win. Number 5. Andy Ashby. Andy Ashby was the backbone of the Padres pitching staff throughout the 1990s. Year after year, he brought durability, consistency, and fierce competitiveness to the mound, giving the young franchise a dependable arm in both winning campaigns and rebuilding years. A multiple-time All-Star, Ashby wasn't flashy, but he pitched with intelligence, command, and a quiet confidence that inspired those around him. Ashby led by example, pitching deep into games when the team needed him most, and often carrying a workload heavier than most expected. In an era when the Padres were searching for identity, Ashby provided a steadying presence that bridged the gap between generations of pitchers. For Padres fans, Andy Ashby represented grit, professionalism, and the kind of consistency every franchise dreams of. He may not have always been in the spotlight, but for a decade, he was the foundation of San Diego's pitching success. Number 4. Trevor Hoffman. Trevor Hoffman was calm in chaos, the rare closer who seemed to slow the game down when everyone else felt it speeding up. While hitters tightened their grip and crowds held their breath, Hoffman stayed methodical, deliberate, almost serene. Armed with a devastating changeup that fell off the table, he turned ninth innings into rehearsed endings. Batters knew it was coming. They still couldn't touch it. Hoffman spent the heart of his career in San Diego, racking up over 600 saves and becoming the first reliever to truly define Padres baseball. His entrance to Hell's Bells wasn't just a song, it was a signal. The game was over. Hope for the opponent had expired. What made Hoffman special wasn't just dominance, but loyalty. In an era when closers chased big markets and bigger contracts, he chose San Diego. He chose the Padres. And in return, the city embraced him as its own. Quiet, precise, unshakable. Trevor Hoffman didn't overpower baseball. He outsmarted it. Number 3, Jake Peavy. Jake Peavy didn't just pitch for the Padres, he attacked hitters. Every start felt personal, every inning carried urgency. Peavy pitched with a scowl, a snarl, and a refusal to give an inch. And in the mid-2000s, that attitude turned him into the face of San Diego baseball. In 2007, he delivered one of the greatest seasons in franchise history. A pitching triple crown with the league lead in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. Capped by a Cy Young Award, he overpowered hitters with a riding fastball, a vicious slider, and a split-finger pitch that disappeared at the plate. When the Padres needed a stopper, Peavy didn't just want the ball. He demanded it. Beyond the numbers, Peavy brought identity. He gave the Padres the edge. He gave them belief. In an era when San Diego was fighting for respect, Peavy stood on the mound and dared the league to take it from him. Few Padres ever pitched with his combination of dominance, emotion, and accountability. Jake Peavy wasn't just the ace of his time. He set the modern standard for Padres pitching. Number 2, Dave Winfield. Dave Winfield arrived in San Diego before the Padres had an identity and helped give them one. A towering presence with uncommon athleticism, Winfield could do everything on a baseball field. He hit for power, ran with ease, threw lasers from right field, and carried himself like a superstar long before the franchise was taken seriously. He was the first true national star the Padres ever produced. A player so obviously special that the rest of baseball couldn't ignore San Diego anymore. Opposing teams didn't just game plan for the Padres, they game planned for Winfield. Even though his career would eventually take him to New York, Minnesota, and the Hall of Fame, his Padres years mattered deeply. He gave the franchise credibility, he gave fans belief, and he set the standard for what greatness in a Padres uniform could look like. Before Tony Gwynn became just some Mr. Padre, Dave Winfield showed the baseball world that stars could rise in San Diego and shine just as bright. Number 1, Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn wasn't just the greatest Padre, he was San Diego baseball. A lifetime .338 hitter in the modern era, Gwynn turned hitting into an art form. He won 8 National League batting titles, struck out less in an entire season than most players did in a month, and faced Hall of Fame pitching with calm confidence and unmatched precision. Power was optional. Contact was guaranteed. If a ball was thrown over the plate, Gwynn found it. He spent all 20 seasons in a Padres uniform, rejecting bigger markets and brighter spotlights because San Diego was home. Gwynn carried the franchise through its highest highs and toughest years, leading the Padres to 2 World Series appearances and giving the city a superstar who felt like family. But what truly separated Tony Gwynn was who he was beyond the numbers. A loyal teammate, a beloved mentor, a teacher of the game who studied film, angles, and mechanics long before analytics became mainstream. He respected baseball, and baseball respected him back. Tony Gwynn didn't just play for the Padres, he was the Padres. The story of the San Diego Padres isn't about domination, it's about growth, about waiting, about believing. From Nate Colbert's early power to Tony Gwynn's timeless brilliance, from Trevor Hoffman's calm to Fernando Tatís Jr.'s fire. These players didn't just build a franchise, they built a bond with a city. And as long as baseball is played by the Pacific, as long as fans fill Petco Park with hope, these names will never fade. They are the Padres, forever.